Y'all, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the Jada Toys Street Fighter Sagat figure. Sagat first appeared in the video game Street Fighter on August 30th of 1987. He was a non-playable main antagonist and the final boss. Former member of Shadowloo and bodyguard for M. Bison, but has since changed sides. He then appears in this more iconic appearance in Street Fighter 2. His fighting style is Muay Thai. His alignment is neutral good, but formally evil. He likes strong opponents and tigers. He dislikes Shoryuken. Yeah, Shoryuken. He dislikes Shoryuken and cowards. All right, so Jada always does a great job with these boxes. It looks like an arcade cabinet. That's really neat. And the background's really cool, but we're not here to talk about all that. So let's go ahead and get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about Sagat. All right, fresh out the box, y'all. This guy's pretty big. I'm very happy with this fresh out the box. He looks awesome. In my opinion, I think he might look a little too clean on the wraps, but I still like how stark white they are. So there's something there. I think it makes for a really cool pop in color, and I think that's awesome. At the same time, I think I'm also just used to the Jada Toys one that looks a little bit more beat up on the wraps, but I don't dislike this, if that makes any sense. Yeah, the figure is pretty striking. I mean, the sculpt looks awesome, and it looks just like the character. I mean, I think they nailed it. He looks fantastic, and he feels pretty good. There is something about the plastic that Jada uses that I don't dislike it, but it definitely feels different than a Marvel Legends. And some of the Jada toys, just based on memory, feel a little different than this one does. It's not a bad thing. It's just a noticeable thing, at least in my opinion. And so, yeah, I'm definitely noticing that. I'm also feeling the texture on his shorts. That is really awesome. I remember Fei Long had the texture on his pants, and I thought that was really cool. And then also, I think Ken's gi was the same thing. And this has a very similar aesthetic to it. And I love the way that the little ripples in the shorts catch the light. It just really brings this figure to life, and that's just really cool, and I'm really digging that. The musculature is extremely well done, and the sculpting of it is just excellent. The scar on his chest is kind of gnarly, though. Like, it even feels kind of weird, but like in the best way, and it looks really cool. He has a really cool, imposing look to him that the character does when you're playing the video game as well. He does have an interesting feel in the upper torso than in the lower torso. And what I mean by that is to say that the upper torso kind of reminds me of the early Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat figures. That's certainly not a bad thing by any means. His face sculpt is really cool. The plastic does look a little soft on the face. Like, I don't know. It looks almost rubbery. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's just a noticeable thing. And I feel like Fei Long didn't have that. And I feel like Cammy didn't have it. But like some of the figures just seem like they have a little bit of a rubberiness to them. And it's, again, not a bad thing because they still look fantastic. It's just, I don't know. There's just something that's not quite as sharp in my opinion. And again, that could just be me. Again, just first impressions. So yeah, very happy with this. Sagat comes with 2 interchangeable heads, 4 interchangeable hands, his Tiger Shot fireball, and a stand to hold the fireball so it looks like it's, floating in motion, like he's throwing it at you. All right, so according to streetfighter.fandom.com, Sagat stands at 7 foot 5 inches tall and weighs 172 pounds. This figure stands at 7 3/4 inches tall and weighs 7 ounces. So now let's take a look and see how he measures up to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here he is with NECA's Ernie. and Hasbro's Marvel Legends Sabretooth. Here he is with SH Figuarts Senkocho Seiho Kamen Rider Kuga and Hasbro's Fortnite Shadow Meowscles. Here he is with McFarlane's Mortal Kombat Shao Kahn and Super 7's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones. Here he is with NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Return to New York Donatello and Mattel's Masterverse Clawful. Here he is with Jada Toys Mega Man Iceman and Figma's Gloria. Here he is with Jada Toys Street Fighter Cammy and Ken Masters. Here he is with SH Figuarts Street Fighter Ryu and Chun-Li. Here he is with Marvel Select Juggernaut and Hasbro's Marvel Legends Apocalypse. Here he is with Soda Toys Street Fighter Adon figure. And here he is with Soda Toys Street Fighter Sagat. There's something cool about Sagat that I can't quite figure out. I mean, it's just a bald guy with blue shorts and hand wraps, which is nothing to write home about, but then add the eye patch and the bitchin' scar. I don't know. They definitely make him cooler, but I don't know. I can't explain it, but all of it works so well together and makes for a way cooler figure because of it. And Jada has done an excellent job, yet again, bringing this character to life in figure form. He feels great and he looks great. However, that being said, there is, at least to me, a slight softness to his look that I can't fully explain. It's either in the paint detail and how it's applied to the plastic or something like that. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something I've noticed on a few of Jada's figures. And I kind of feel like Guile has this as well, but I don't actually have him, mostly because of that. But I think that Sagat still looks awesome in spite of that. And I also think that it might be just his closed mouth face that has that. The open mouth face, or the showing his teeth face, for lack of a better term, is a little better than the closed mouth face, in my opinion, as far as the softness or whatever I'm trying to articulate about it. But still, both of them still look really good, and they were enough for me to pick this figure up anyway, in spite of it. So he's super tall, and he's got this heft to him that just, as per most of my reviews, adds so much to an action figure for me and makes it feel substantial, and he definitely checks those boxes. And as per usual with Jada, they do include the effects piece and the stand with their figures, and I absolutely love that and appreciate that. And Sagat's fireball, I forget what it's called. I know he just yells, "Tiger, Tiger!" But like, I can't remember if it's the Tiger Shot or the Tiger Ball or whatever it is. Regardless, it looks really cool, and he can do the poses that looks like he's throwing it. It's a little clunky, at least for me, but you can kind of make it work. That's kind of like secondary for me as far as like action figures. Like, the first thing is, does it look like the character and does it pose well and function? And then I start to worry about the accessories, like the projectiles and all that. But regardless, it's still really cool and really neat. Super glad that they include those. And I love the extra hands as well, but would always appreciate more. And Jada has this cool fun factor that they're able to incorporate into pretty much all of their action figures, at least the ones that I've got a hold of. And they're able to make it to where they're fun to pose and play with and get into all these different positions and whatnot. And they still maintain the sculpt and the look of the figure. At the same time, you're having fun playing with this action figure, which is something you would think you should be able to do with all action figures, but that's not the case. I've opened some where I'm like really disappointed for one reason or another, usually because it's lacking the butterfly joints in the shoulders. But still, even with that, sometimes I just feel like Jada is like just setting the bar for what action figures should be. and kind of putting some of the other lines like on notice to be like, look, y'all are kind of just fumbling the ball a little bit. And you could just easily, well, I say easily, I don't know how action figures are made, but Jada makes it look easy. And especially with a figure like Sagat, there's not a lot of craziness here. He's just kind of like he's tall, but he's pretty basic in the sense of like his design. Now, the one thing I will say, and this is probably a little bit more due to my diorama setup, is that I had some difficulty getting him to hold some poses more than some of the other figures because of the articulation in his foot. The toe hinge on his foot sometimes was a little difficult to kind of get. You could get it in the right position. It just didn't work as fluidly as I would like for it to have. Whereas some of the other figures where it's positioned a little differently, they didn't have as much of a problem like balancing or like throwing it off. And Sagat seemed to have a little bit more problems in that area. However, it's easily fixed. You just got to like, put a little bit more effort into it. But whereas other figures don't necessarily have that issue, I think it's just because of the positioning of his toe joint. But that's pretty much the only problem I've had with this figure overall. And so that's pretty good in my opinion. Now, obviously, this figure goes extremely well with the other Jada Street Fighter figures in this line. He also works pretty well with some of the other Soda figures from back in the day, as well as the SH Figuarts Street Fighter figures that came out a while back. He works very well with those as well. And he also goes really well with a lot of your Marvel Legends because they kind of have that Marvel vs. Capcom thing going on. So, and Jada knows that action figure collectors want to combine those two lines. So I think that they incorporated some things in their design to make them look a certain way that works very well with both lines. And Sagat totally does that. Now, you might have some trouble with some of your G.I. Joes, getting him to work with them because he doesn't have as many pouches, but you can make it work. And technically he was a member of Cobra back in the day. So, your mileage may vary with that, but he also works with a lot of the Ninja Turtles figures. It's going to be, hit or miss, but some of them will work with him. And overall, I still think that he can go with pretty much anything. He's got a pretty basic look to him that's not too distinct. And so I think that really plays in his favor for him being able to go with these other lines. And so, yeah, I had a lot of fun trying to see what would work, and most everything pretty much worked. So there's that. Overall, I really like this figure a lot. He does everything I need this character to do and is a great representation of the character. I still really dig my Soda version of this character enough that this didn't make me want to sell it like I have with my other Soda figures, but that's more of a testament to Soda. However, I did sell my SH Figuarts Sagat mostly because he was just too short in my opinion from what I recall. And so, yeah, overall, I really love this figure, and he's just a lot of fun to pose and mix and match with other lines. And like I said, he does everything that I need him to do. So if you're collecting the Jada Street Fighter line, this is a no-brainer. You need this one. If you've got the old Soda figure and thinking about replacing it, I think you'd be happy with this one, but they both have their differences, so it's definitely up to your taste. If you have a shelf of figures who yell, "Tiger!" then Sagat will totally fit in there. If you have a shelf of figures with eye patches, Sagat definitely has one of those. Or if you have a shelf dedicated to bald badasses, then you will not be disappointed with Jada's Sagat. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. And if you want to see more from me, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments. Are you a fan of Sagat? Do you like action figures with eye patches? What would you say what would be your battle cry when you shoot a fireball? Let me know in the comments. And until then, else time.